Welcome back, everyone. Now, it is my pleasure to welcome the chairman of the EPP Group in the European Parliament, Manfred Weber, for his keynote address. Mr. Chairman, the floor is yours.
Share with you some of the considerations we have from a group's point of view in mind when we speak about this next chapter of the European Union, the next decade in front of us. And I'm sure that you already had the chance in this modern format of exchanging views and the already discussed issues that you already have a lot in mind what we have to do for the next upcoming years. And that's why I try to focus on probably some of the elements I personally would highlight. But before I do so, I want to thank the Wilfried Martens Center very much for this kind of activity, again, to bring the European Ideas Network back, to really find a new way to organize these things in the COVID times, and also to keep also the innovation out of these COVID times, but in digital form. So congratulations to all your efforts. And for us as EPP as a whole, it's extremely important to have this network of the Wilfried Martens Center to be engaged and to connect to the outside world about our EPP internal discussion. So thank you so much. So the first question is, when we speak about this decade in front of us, when we speak about the need to reform Europe, when we speak also about the Future of Europe conference in front of us, then the first big question is there a need? And I hope that everybody agrees that the answer is clear. There is a need now to open the window and bring fresh air into the European Union and allow us, as those who believe in this idea of a strong European Union, to consider what are the next steps now in front of us. What does the next decade brings for us in Europe? And probably the key method is that we are not anymore driven by crisis management, because frankly speaking, that was the experience of Europeans in the last 10, 15 years. When you see the Euro crisis, migration, we had Brexit and now Corona crisis, we always reacted after a huge challenge, a big crisis. And that's why to overcome this and to discuss today what is in front of us and what do we have to answer today to avoid or to better answer the next challenges in front of us is exactly what we have to do. And therefore, again, the Future of Europe conference is a key tool for doing it. That is what we see. I tell you that when we had the first meetings now in this format of Future of Europe conference, then I feel already a kind of a Strasbourg spirit, because a few weeks ago we had the first meetings there, and we also had in the EPP format the first caucus meetings, the first group meetings of the EPP delegates there. And you feel motivation, you feel fresh ideas. We had also last week a meeting with our head of states and governments in the EPP summit format chaired by Donald Tusk. And also in this summit, there were colleagues showing up and contributing to fresh ideas about the future of Europe and to try to find a way to keep as EPP the ownership on this debate about the next chapter for the European Union. So that's why the spirit is there, the chance is there, the opportunity is there that we make out of these discussions a real success story. And let me also add that when I discuss with people about the chances, it's really a possibility to upgrade Europe now, to bring Europe to a new level, to innovate things. Then there is some reluctance, especially on council side, when I see the preparation of the Future of Europe conference there. But I would say that next spring, having in mind that we want to finalize then the first reports on the future of Europe, we have still Macron in office, who is really committed to the process, and we will have most likely Armin Laschet in the German chancellery sitting there as the next chancellor, hopefully, as the next chancellor, and he's also clearly committed to bring Europe to a new level. And I would say with these two leaders, I think we can create a momentum. It's not in us, that's clear. We need all Europeans to be part of this, all head of states and government, but the momentum from Paris and from Berlin can help us a lot. So that is my starting point. There is a chance, there is a good spirit, there is a momentum. Let's use it. Let's open the doors, the windows, and let's get fresh air into the room to discuss about what is needed. We start with citizens, with listening to the citizens. That is what we are doing there. And that is good. Modern politics starts with listening. And as politicians, we know how important it is, especially as People's Party. We know how important it is to be in close contact with our citizens. In this format, I would say that we have to tackle especially the items, the content of politics, which is close to the EPP mind. I tell you, for example, still safety, security, fight against terror is one of the elements where people, especially EPP-minded voters, have an interest, have a demand towards Europe. I tell you that I think that the biggest challenge for us will be jobs, jobs, jobs. The economic dimension of the developments must be in the center of our discussion. We lost last year 6.5% of GDP. We can win back a lot after we have now the rollout of the vaccination in a positive way managed, but still the decline is tough, is strong. And we have to create jobs, especially for our young generation, to avoid another lost generation. That is a second aspect I want to mention. And for sure, there are future aspects which we have to talk with citizens about, health, for example, and still migration. So let's focus on the points where especially we as EPP know that people are expecting us to move and to deliver as European Union. Frankly speaking, this is an important step, listening with citizens, the dialogue, yes. And Dubravka Suica is a key person in this regard, in this subject. She's organizing this from a Commission point of view. And that again is a precondition for modern forms of politics. But frankly speaking, the real exercise, the real challenge for us as politicians is then afterwards to discuss the how. So not so much the what is needed, what are the demands of people, what are the concerns of people, but then to make the implementation, to make Europe capable to deliver. So the how must be in the center of the debate in the second phase of this Future of Europe debate. What is in my mind when we talk about the how? I tell you that, yeah, first of all, it's again about politics, climate change, Fit for 55 package, on health. You know that EPP, we fought already in the last campaign for strong ambitions on cancer, on fight against cancer, to beat cancer. And now Corona gave us a proof that we need more Europe in this health issue to create a real health union. Then we have, again, social market economy to redefine what it means, SME, the question of absorption rate of our money, a question of bureaucracy, young generation, and so on and so forth. So that is how the subjects on content. A second element on this how is that we need on European level to consider that for the moment, Europe is strong as a legislator. So Council, Commission, Parliament, we create a common legal framework for our market, for how we live together in Europe. But Europe is currently not capable and strong enough in the implementation of things. So in the executive side of a governing structure, there I see a lack, and there I see a need of improvement. For example, when we define in European level that we have to have strong border control, then we have to have also strong Frontex to do it practically, and to have the right to step in and jump in if national level is not capable to deliver. Today we have in Greece a government with Kyriakos Mitsotakis who is ready to defend our European border against illegal migration. But this was not the case in the previous government. And if a government is not ready to implement existing legal obligations from the European level, existing law from European level, then the European level must have the right to step in and to say, sorry, we take over and we send then Frontex troops to the border and protect our borders. So this is only one example for the fundamental question, do we need more executive power on European level? So not first of all, more Europe, but first of all, a more effective Europe to really deliver. Another element which is in my mind is absolutely the global dimension. I think you discussed it already there, because that's the biggest field where we see the need that Europe must go further, must be strengthened. And it is about the common defense pillar. We in the group, we consider for example, to establish a kind of a cyber brigade to defend our internet infrastructure in the European Union together as one possible first step to establish this defense pillar. We have now the first time the defense fund on European level for common research activities, and also with PESCO we do something. And the other field on the foreign affairs is obviously the question of the qualified majority decision-making process. To stop unanimous vote, which means blockade in the Council, and really to make it possible for the European Union to speak with one voice, with one strong voice on global level. And having now Russia in mind, having Turkey in mind, having Venezuela in mind, and the big question China in mind, we need this common voice urgently. Let me also underline in this field where I see the need of a further strengthening of Europe, that we have to talk about the democratic Europe. You know, we failed last time with the idea of a Spitzenkandidat, of the idea that we present before the elections to the voters who is the candidate and what is the program behind the personality. Is having now the development of 2019 in mind, we first have to consider, is the idea behind still right or is it wrong? I would say the idea is still right. It's the same on local level, on national level, that you present a candidate and have a program. That's a basic principle of democracy. So to make Europe more democratic, we don't have to innovate so much. We have simply to do the things we also do in local, regional, and national level. And that's why I would stick to this principle. But we have to consider how to make it more binding, how to make it real, how to make it, to bring it alive. That is a challenge in front of us. And there we have to talk together with Council, together with all representatives, how to make it possible. The dimension, the importance of this subject cannot be underestimated. Having Brexit in mind, where Boris Johnson campaigned with, I want to have my sovereignty back. Having this in mind, everybody understands that the direct link between citizens and Europe, Brussels, decision-making level, must be direct, must be close. People must feel involved. People must feel that this is my Europe and not a distant Europe. That's why I really think that this is one of the key priorities. I myself have the chance as a coordinator in the Working Group for Democracy in the Future of Europe conference to present then the final draft for the democracy chapter. And we must do our best as an EPP family to bring this alive. And I invite everyone to also contribute now with ideas. You know, there is a debate about the transnational list on the table. There is also the debate about the direct election of the Council President to elect the President for the European Union on the table. So, well, very far-reaching ideas, but I think that is exactly what we need. So ambitious approach for the future. And new considerations. Probably not everybody agrees, but again, a debate starts with creative ideas. And finally, all the debates about future of Europe, about the next decade in front of us, must be linked to our value base, about the European way of life. We introduced as EPP this framing of European way of life. It was highly controversial when Ursula von der Leyen presented Margrethe Skinas as the vice president responsible for promoting the European way of life. It was highly controversial. The left didn't like it. But we fought for it because we need this identity, common understanding what makes us to be Europeans. And I want to share with you the basic principles. We know them, but it's important to remember them. It's also about the democracy question. It's about rule of law. It's about the social market economy, about equal treatment of men and women. It's about the death penalty, that we have this all over Europe not allowed and forbidden. And we have then above everything the key message, the umbrella for the European values, and that's freedom. That's Europe, and that's unique in the world. That's not in Russia, not in China, not in America, not all over the world. Similarly established. And that is what must drive us in the next upcoming years. And if you allow me to sum up, we need now, again, an ambitious approach. We need now the will to do the necessary things. And may I say, even if not everybody in the public opinion supports us, When Adenauer, de Gasperi, Schuman created the European Union, not everybody was convinced about this. When Helmut Kohl, Mitterrand started the euro, I tell you in Germany, not everybody was convinced to give up on the German Deutschmark, but he did it and they did it. So what Europe needs is a good consideration about what is needed to prepare for this next decade in front of us, but then to do it, to have the political will, the courage, the understanding to show leadership. So politics is about listening, but it is also about leadership. And that is what Europe needs now more than ever before in this decade, in front of this decade. And I'm sure that we as EPP, we will be the party of leadership. We will deliver for a good perspective for the European Union. Thank you so much for listening to me, and thank you so much for giving me the chance to present some considerations to the debate.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, for your words and your inspiration.